Of all the questions that I'm asked, one of the most common one is, why hasn't he called? Why hasn't he called? There's something about that unfinished business, about being left hanging without an explanation that leaves even the most confident of us wondering what we did wrong and whether or not we should try to contact him or elicit some kind of an answer. We all share pretty much the same storyline. You met a great guy, you really hit it off, maybe you even went on a date or two, and then nothing, no phone call, no text, no explanation, just a silent phone. Every time the phone rings, your heart rate shoots up as you grab for it, only to see that it's your friend or your mom calling as your heart sinks back into your stomach. Sorry, Mom. The other part of the story that's always the same is that we've convinced ourselves that our situation is unique, unlike every other woman's experience with the guy who hasn't called. But the reality is that your story is exactly the same as all of the many, many women around the world and through the ages that have experienced the same thing. We just don't want to hear it or believe it. There seems to be something about believing that our own personal situation is different, hanging on to the hope that we're the exception to the rule, that makes us feel better, at least temporarily. But here's the thing, the reality is that it is just not different. It's my own personal experience, as well as that of the many women I've coached over the years, that the answer is clear. He hasn't called because he isn't ready or interested in pursuing a relationship with you right now. The other hard truth is that he may never be. In fact, he most likely won't ever be, but that's fine because the bottom line is he's not the guy for you. If he were, it would be happening. He'd be calling you. He'd be texting you. You'd be hearing from him. That's the short, tough to swallow, but true answer. Any further explanation doesn't change anything, so it really doesn't matter. What matters is you. I can't even begin to tell you how much time and energy I personally wasted hoping to get some kind of an explanation from a guy who hadn't called, a guy who suddenly just disappeared, or he might have still been around, either at work, unfortunately, or at a place where we might run into each other from time to time, which is the worst. But in every other way, the most important ways, he was no longer in my life. There's just something about a guy who pursues us in the beginning, even if it's only for one evening or one date, and then he suddenly doesn't call. That brings out the absolute worst in us. We want to know why. We need to know why. It haunts us. It keeps us up at night. It keeps us obsessively checking our messages, our emails, our voicemails, and our phones to make sure they're still working. The worst part is that it also keeps us focusing on the exact opposite of what we want you to be focusing on, because it keeps you focusing on him and how bad he made you feel instead of focusing on yourself and your own beautiful life and finding a relationship with a guy who genuinely wants a relationship with you and is showing you that because he actively pursues you. It's going to seem so obvious to you when enough time has passed for you to be able to see the situation with the gift of hindsight. But when you're in it, I do know exactly how hard it is to let it go. So as tempted as you may be to call him or text him to track him down and get that answer out of him that you do deserve, I'm telling you firsthand that it does not work. It never does. It doesn't make him decide he was wrong about you and then start pursuing you. If anything, the opposite is true. Because if he was about to come to his senses and call you and beg your forgiveness for the long delay, but then you call him before he has that chance, well, you've just taken the chase out of it for him. Men have an innate drive to pursue any woman that they're genuinely interested in, whether it is biological or cultural. And for most men, if that's taken away, then it changes the entire relationship and not for the better. And it doesn't make you feel any better. In fact, it makes you feel worse because you need something from him that he isn't giving you. And by putting yourself in that begging position of looking to someone outside of you to give you some crumb to make you feel better, you only hurt your already injured self-esteem and you only further diminish your confidence level, all of which decreases your ability to attract your true Mr. Right. Yes, you deserve an explanation, but that doesn't mean getting that explanation is worth what jumping through hoops to get it does to you and your precious self. You are worth so much more than that. Instead, resist the urge to contact him and take the high road that keeps your self-confidence and your self-esteem intact. That means accepting the fact that he hasn't called, regardless of the reason. And it also means knowing you are so much better off finding out now that he isn't interested or isn't ready for a relationship with you right now than finding out the hard way down the road after you've invested all that much more time and energy and your heart in something that wasn't meant to be in the first place, that you're only trying to make it happen. Check out my video, The Gift of a Broken Heart, for more on that. The link is below in the description. Now, if you absolutely have to have a reason in order to save your sanity, go ahead and give it a reason. Either he wasn't ready, he wasn't interested, he was still involved with someone else, he met someone else, he's addicted to work or something worse in his life, he's too young, he's too old, whatever. You get the point. Pick whatever reason makes you feel better. You get to choose here. And then, as hard as it may be to actually do this, let him go. Find your peace in accepting what is. If he lost your number, he'll find a way to contact you some other way. Men in hot pursuit is something they want to pursue. No roadblocks. Let it go. He's not the one for you, obviously, regardless of how much potential he seemed to show you. The reality is that you didn't even really know him well enough to make that assumption in the first place. No matter how much chemistry, no matter how attractive he was, no matter how much he pursued you in the beginning, in the end, none of this will matter. The only thing that matters is that you have saved yourself that energy, that time to focus on yourself and being available in every way for that guy who is actually looking for you and is ready to pursue you in such a way that there will be no question that he is truly ready and available and interested in you and everything you have to offer. Now I'll turn it over to you, gorgeous. Have you ever been in this situation of wondering why he hasn't called? If so, how did you handle it? Share your story with us in the comments. Someone else will benefit from you. And as always, please make sure to click the like button if you enjoyed this video and pass it along to a friend who's asking the same question. Why didn't he call? I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.